but I will not be recording any metadata, only regular data.
But that metadata, we need it.
No, we don't, apparently.
We specifically do not, based on all the evidence we have. What does it do? Nothing.
Maybe it does do something.
Someday we'll find out there's some fatal flaw in the audio that we couldn't detect. One day your hard drive is just broken. It's breaking your hard drive somehow, like the old ogre. All right. Click on this. It's Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we are talking about Nerts Online. So, whatever fuckery I was up to over the weekend doesn't really matter, because if you weren't paying attention, we didn't do a show last week, toward the end of the week, because there was a literal coup in the United States, or at least an attempted coup.
There have been many things that you could argue were coups.
Yeah. But I think this one was the biggest one to date.
This is the most clearly visible, right? It's like, you know, sometimes there's a thing where it's like it definitely happened, but it's still like an idea, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you know.
It never got to the point of like the MAGA chuds literally stormed the Capitol and tried to
physical object that you cannot deny, right? The physical, undeniable manifestation of the thing. So you can't just be like, oh, words. It's like
there are already truthers saying it didn't happen. A lot of them.
Sure, there are. Yeah, okay. There's people said the moon landing didn't happen too. Whatever.
Yep.
You know, there's always going to be that person. You can't do anything about that.
Yeah. And there are way smarter and more informed people to like learn about this from than us. But the reason we bring it up now is that this is not something you can ignore. Like, this is not something you can say, oh, I just want to go do something with video games and escape from this, because
I don't think anybody listening to Geek Nights is ignoring.
If somehow someone's like that and listening to this, like, I don't know what you were listening to for the last 15 years.
Also,
like when I kicked that Gamergator out of our YouTube channel a while ago.
Yeah, if you participated in that event in any way whatsoever, you are banned from all Geek Nights forever.
Oh yeah, you're just like a disgraceful human being.
I guess I can't stop you from listening to Geek Nights, but
I would if I could.
I would if I could. And
if you were there. No, you know what? If you were there, let us know, because we'd really like to call the FBI on you.
That's for sure. Unless you were part, one of the few people on, the not participating, but just happening to be there, right? Like, there were journalists who were there.
Yeah.
Congress people who were there.
There was that one cop who like led the violent mob away from the Senate long enough for them to lock it. Like,
yeah, maybe. I'm, still not 100% sure on that story, but clearly that cop was not, was actually trying to do something and not taking selfies, right? So.
Yep. I saw a selfie guy got in trouble finally, so the FBI is starting to move.
I saw a video of at least one cop actually beating up a white person, so you're still a bad cop. You're not supposed to beat up anybody.
Yeah. But if they're
the problem is.
Yeah, the problem is they beat up people they shouldn't beat up. But then the one time there's a literal violent insurrection, they're like, you know what, now we're just going to hang back, mostly. We're going to let this happen.
Yeah. You should not beat up anybody, but you should also not let anyone in the building.
Yep.
You can do both. That's your job.
But just the thing to bear in mind, and we'll move on to our gaming stuff tonight, is that this wasn't a failed coup attempt. This is an ongoing coup attempt. Like, this is not over or resolved.
It's been ongoing.
It's been ongoing for about 4 years, but it's starting to culminate
it's sort of like how people are like, Vietnam War was just part of the Cold War, right? So it's like the coup is like ongoing, and this was just sort of like a Vietnam War in the larger coup situation.
Yep, so stay informed, and more importantly, stay safe, because there are very credible threats against literally every state capital in America on Inauguration Day. Like, to quote one police officer that we both know, Chief Wiggum, this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what we said before, and it's gotten worse.
Yeah, we're not sure if it's going to get better yet. It might get worse for a while.
Like, in past times, we said this is going to get worse, and it's gotten worse. And we're saying it's going to get worse still. We have not reached yet the point at which we can say the betterness is happening, right? It's like we have a COVID vaccine out, for example. Another, the two catastrophes we're suffering at once.
That technology led to a potential likely vaccine for both MS and HIV, and that didn't even make the news.
No. But the point is that I'm trying to make is that if you go to Google, right, and you look at the COVID numbers, right, even though the vaccine is starting to be distributed to people who, in places, mountain is just the highest it's been.
Yep.
You look at the little graph, and it's like, the graph says April 4th, right, there's a first mountain, and this first mountain on April 4th, at least for New York, is this New York? I don't know when this is. I guess it's New York because that's where I am. It says, like 12,000 something cases. And that was when it was horrifying and there was like nobody was going outside at all.
Yep. Like in New York, you just hear sirens in the distance and the streets were just empty.
And that was when the graph was at 12,000. So that mountain went down to like a really low kind of rumble, right? Like it wasn't zero, but it sort of flattened out into like the hundreds down from 12,000 something, right? May, July, September, and then in November, it started to go up again. And it's now January, and it's not at 12,000. It's at almost 20,000.
Yep. And you can see this very clearly. Like, the why is pretty simple. Like, schools are open, restaurants are open. Driving to go, like, hike in the wilderness, we went out of New York City through New Jersey. And you know what I saw? All along those roads, packed restaurants.
Well, that's the thing. I'm still staying at home as if it was still, as still the times with the sirens. Right?
Yep.
It's been siren time since, we got home from PAX East, and it hasn't stopped. I'd recommend you do the same.
Yep. Don't go anywhere unless you need to, and particularly don't go into other buildings. Don't go to a restaurant. Don't visit your family. Like, what the hell?
Even if I get 2 vaccines and then time passes and I'm fine and such, I'm not going outside until this big mountain graph goes way down, lower than the low rumble of the summer. Like, it's got to go down.
Yep.
It's got to look like the measles graph, right?
Yep. It's going to be tough, though, because the vaccine is not rolling out very quickly for a lot of reasons in America.
No, but I'm saying, it's like, you think about it, like I have a measles vaccine. There are still people out there with measles, though. It's not eliminated, right? But I still go outside without worrying about measles, right? I need to reach that sort of level where, like, I have a COVID vaccine, but the number of COVID cases out there is, around the number of, like, measles cases, right? And I'm not, even though there's people out there who have it, I'm not going to be, I can go outside without worrying about getting it. Right? And then I'll go outside again.
Yeah, I think the real trouble is going to be just how many people are going to refuse that vaccine and how we deal with that situation.
Then they're not allowed to do anything. You can stay, you can't come to an office to work. You have to work from home or not work. You can't come into a place, just like you're just banned from places. You can't go, can't come to this football game. Nope, can't come in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reasonable and prudent thing to do, but that's not what's going to happen.
Nope, can't go.
You know how America rolls. America will never do something like that.
Can't come past the velvet rope, not allowed. Nope.
I sadly think what's actually going to happen is all the people who refuse that vaccine are going to slowly just get COVID long after everyone else is vaccinated because they'll refuse, and no laws will be passed to force them.
We'll see.
All right.
Anyway.
Speaking of things that are going to get worse before they get better, so Twitch, if you're not familiar with the culture of Twitch, there's this little box where people can type words, and it's just a shitstorm of chaos on popular Twitch streams. Like,
yeah, really, there's like different levels, right? So it's like, it's the same stupid box, but if you're on a really unpopular stream, right? Like nobody's there, you can have like this one-on-one conversation with the person streaming if they're paying attention to the box. And sometimes that's a really good thing, and sometimes it's a really bad thing. If there's a few people in there, you can actually get like a little community going.
Yeah.
That few actually goes up to like, hundreds, right? You can have hundreds of people in there, and actually, like depending on what game it is and what the kind of people are in that chat, right? Like, if they're playing, Cyberpunk, whatever, a few hundred people in the chat is probably not going to go anywhere great, just based on the kind of community of people who are into that game. But if you were to watch, someone doing Mario speedruns, right? It's like the chat is going to be, better probably than the Cyberpunk one. At
Yep.
least.
But the thing that will
League of Legends
happen,
one.
the thing that will usually happen is people will say words and other people will read those specific words.
Yep.
Above a certain point, Twitch is very different.
Yeah, if you get up to the thousands of people in the chat, the big ones, or depending on what it is that's being watched, right, on the stream, it's just this flood of emojis and random words that no one can read, and you can type something and it will contribute to the flood of emojis and random words. And I don't even know what the purpose of it is at that point.
Yep, it's like this weird background rumble.
It's not conversation. It's more like the cheering at a concert. You just hear, right? It's not talking.
I do think in the long run, like there will be a future where people will look like older, like there'll be a time in GeekNights' future where we'll look back and talk about like, yeah, remember that weird era when people would like type into that box on Twitch?
Well, it's like if you're at a baseball game, right? You yell at the players, yeah, you bum,
Yep.
right? And that's if you're a player in a Major League Baseball game, and the stadium is full, right? What do you hear on the right? Or you might hear some individual words poking out here and there.
Daryl.
Yeah,
Daryl.
that's what the Twitch chat becomes when it's a lot of people, is that sort of stadium noise. And you're either one voice in the crowd of noise or you're the streamer hearing the noise.
Yep. So in that context, many of you older people might not be familiar with the concept of poggers or the PogChamp, which was one of the default emoji, because Twitch has got this whole thing with emojis like Discord does. But one of the emojis happened to just be this dude, who's a super piece of shit, by the way. We'll get back to that. Ryan Gutierrez.
Right,
and
so basically, I don't know if people know the history of Twitch, but there was a site, Justin TV, around the mid 2000s, early 2000-ish era, right? When GeekNights started around that time.
Yeah. We did a live stream way back then.
This dude, Justin, was just like streaming himself, right? And he made a website, Justin TV. And then eventually they sort of, when Justin TV became like a thing, they said, hey, let's like take our exact same website and put it run the same technology to let people live stream on another domain, Twitch TV. And it'll be basically the same kind of thing that you have, because Justin TV was focused on streaming yourself, right? Which was hard to do in that time.
Oh, God. I remember what we had, like the ridiculous shit we set up to do our like live stream, which...
Yeah, we did it on Ustream, which is a site that I think is dead now or might still be alive, but no one's using it right now anyway.
God, we had those halogen like lights on the floor. I was worried they're going to set the carpet on fire.
Yeah, Twitch was basically just like, hey, it's the Justin TV technology stack, only gaming focused. And those original emojis sort of come from those early times in the mid-late 2000s.
They're like Greek legends at this point. Like most people who use them don't really know.
That were involved in that community at that time were then used to make those emojis, right? As sort of like the inside jokes of that original community. And then because all of the communities that came in to basically displace the original Twitch community is basically dead, right? It's gone. It got displaced by many, many, many other communities that collectively make up the new Twitch community. But they inherited those, images as sort of like relics, like archaeologists digging up these emojis, right? And giving them new meaning, right? Because the people who signed to Twitch, they don't know anything about that original community, right? All they see are those emojis. And they know what PogChamp, they see that face, they know it's called PogChamp, and they learn from other people how to use it and what it means.
And the way it works,
know the person.
We go back to the sports stadium analogy. You're in an arena and it's just like the roar of the crowd, but every now and then, like, let's go, right? Like whatever team it is, like a chant will start, and that cuts above the noise a little bit, and there's this moment where like everyone can hear this. That's kind of what these emojis do. Like the pogs will appear.
Like you'll see the same emoji just flooding the chat, right? Like it's a pile of the same one. Right?
Yep.
That's like the doing the wave, right?
So the PogChamp emoji basically has been that for a while, and
the meaning of the PogChamp emoji is basically like, it's like this guy with like his lips out, like, whoa.
Like, it does not mean I support Brian Gutex, the Street Fighter player from ancient times. It just means,
like,
woo!
It's his face, right, with his lips out, like he's surprised or amazed at something like way awesome, like, whoa. So like, if someone does something awesome, you'd be like, whoa, PogChamp, that's right? That's the meaning of it, right?
So turns out,
if you're watching a streamer and they like beat a boss in an amazing way or something, you would hammer like 10 PogChamp emojis and press enter. Right?
Yep.
Like, whoa.
So basically, when the insurrectionist Republicans stormed the Capitol, Gutex said some things encouraging to the rioters and basically called for more violence.
Yeah, so he was already a known piece of shit person, right? This wasn't new. He has gone down the hole. It was not a secret amongst people, right? That he was not a good individual. But, as with many things, right? There are certain people who tolerate too much intolerance. And, the latest physical coup, right, was a camel straw for many of those people. And so, many companies, capitalist corporations that, run the world and have more power than they should. But we're lucky in this case that they have, lucky and unlucky, right? The fact that they have so much power has allowed those people to carry on for so long. But the fact that they have the power has allowed them to finally silence those people.
Yep.
Or deplatform them, right?
So at first, Twitch was like, we're removing the PogChamp emote, and that was fine. But they actually had a cool idea, but this is where I get back into it's going to get worse before it gets better. And like they were trying to figure out, like, do we just we want to have an emote that does that same function? Let's control our platform a little bit. Some people talked about making the PogChamp just be a different face or a different thing.
But how could we choose like just a new thing to replace, right? It's like it would have to be perfect, right? And how could you on short notice come up with like this perfect replacement for a thing?
Twitch wouldn't be able to figure that out on their own. You can't be like, hello, children, this is the new thing to be hype about.
Right. Whatever you choose would be so forced and unorganic.
Unless it had just been Poochie. I think that might have been perfect.
The only way, I think maybe the only time in recent memory that I've seen someone try to force a thing and have it work is Gritty the mascot.
Wow, yeah, Gritty, that went from, there was like a 4-hour window when the whole world said, what the fuck is that? That is terrible. And that immediately turned into, this is the most important thing in the history of hockey.
Right, they tried to force
Nay, the city of Philadelphia.
Right? They tried to force it, and then somehow the people adopted it and repaired it, right?
Yeah.
To do that on purpose, right, is such a difficult creative task, right? Like, Van Gogh can't do that. Even if you get the Michelangelo can't do it. It's so hard. So they came up with a clever idea.
Well,
from a
Sean
point of view.
Sean Plott tweeted at them and said, "This is like Twitch is like this is what caused it. Yo, Twitch, suggestion for PogChamp: create a database of streamer faces. Whenever someone types PogChamp, display one of those at random. Like
that is a good idea.
It is a good idea." And Twitch was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Yeah." Now, of course, Twitch knows that gamers exist, so they couldn't just make it like random people's faces without their consent or anything. Like
yeah,
that would
it has to be people who have put themselves, up for this, right? You need to, right? They even had like a lawsuit with the original guy. They had to give him some money because they're like, hey, you're using my likeness, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So what they did is they said, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have like PogChamp of the day. Every day we'll find someone who agrees to it, and we'll get their face, and we'll make so Rim will be PogChamp today, and every time someone types PogChamp today, they'll see Rim's face, and then for 24 hours it'll be Rim's face, and at the end of the 24 hours it'll suddenly switch to someone else's face, so we can highlight individual people, right? If it's all random, you don't really get that sort of promotional aspect. Right? It's just sort of like, what's it going to be? Who is that person? I don't know who that is, right? But by making it one person a day, it becomes more like the Google Doodle, which is a very good thing, actually. Maybe the best thing Google does.
Yeah. It's not evil in any way.
It's not evil in any way, right? It's a lot like the Google Doodle. Who's PogChamp today? Let's learn about this streamer. We want to highlight and promote our, our people that make our platform money, right? Today we're going to highlight, Andy, the Lord of the Rings player, or we'll highlight, Abco, the DJ. Pick someone different every day who wants to do it. And
now, even better, Twitch was like, you know what? For the first one, they didn't just pick a white dude.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't pick a white dude, not in 2020.
No,
right?
no.
It's like you can have a white dude on there eventually, but if you start with a white dude, that's like common sense.
That is like read the room. And
like you cannot do a white dude on like month 2. You can start doing a white dude, right? It's like, come on.
Yep. So they picked Critical Bard. Awesome dude, like stand-up individual. Like, I got nothing bad to say about Critical Bard.
I like me a Critical Bard. I could, if I was ranking, Twitch people, Critical Bard would be relatively highly ranked.
Because I mean, I watch streams after the fact on YouTube. I basically never ever watch Twitch. Like, to be honest, like ever.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I just don't. Like, I don't really follow any streamers except via like topics. But anyway, so Critical Bard, cool. Like, this is awesome. People are into it.
Critical Bard was down with it.
Yep, like they got the photo right. Like the icon looked perfect. Like they even captured like the poggishness of the poggers. The problem was, Critical Bard is black, and that is not
Twitch
a problem.
Is still Twitch.
Yes, it is still Twitch. These are still gamers. The torrent of racist bullshit that came his way was legendary in how awful it was. Like, holy shit, did this get bad
Who could
fast?
not have seen this?
Oh, gamers are gonna get super racist on Twitch? Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Who could have seen this coming? I could have seen this coming. I saw this coming. I knew this was coming.
Yeah. Now,
Captain Obvious knew this was coming.
Now, Twitch.
So did Captain Hindsight. They did a tag team.
Someone in Twitch had to have seen this coming, but why didn't Twitch, like, plan to do something about this? Like,
all you had to do was get like a moderator into the Critical Bard's channel. Be like, okay, listen, Critical Bard, we know you're gonna get harassed to hell today because now all these pieces
like,
of shit
here's our team. It's like,
know who you are who didn't know who you were before.
it's just like you become president, you get the Secret Service. You become PogChamp, you get the Twitch service. Like, they're gonna like they got your back.
All these people who didn't know who you were yesterday know who you are today. They know your face and they're coming.
And about 40% of them are super racist.
Yeah, some of them are good people and are going to grow your audience, but some of them are super racist. Let's put an army of moderators on you for a little while to ban all those people from Twitch permanently.
Yeah, more importantly, that is the thing. Twitch had to, like, they should have been ready to actually ban the people who reacted to this poorly. That would not be hard. Twitch really walked too thin of a line by trying to not like be aggressive with their ban hammers in this situation. Like, you need to aggressively pursue racist behavior on your platforms as hard as possible, especially
actually, with Critical Bard's permission, this could have been a good honeypot situation.
I was about to say a sting operation.
Yeah, it could have been, like as long as the Critical Bard was willing to be the bait. You don't want to, victimize someone for the sake of this, clearly, right? That's way wrong. But it could have been played like that, like, ha ha ha, now we can find out who the bad people are and ban them. But no, they didn't really do that, did they?
Nope. Now, Critical Bard took it all in pretty good stride and said, like, I'll link to the thread where he talks about it, but his official statement, like, kind of as this started to wind down, was, with 1 hour left, this is all I can say. I hope future PogChamps are not just prepared for kickback, but for the ways these folks will twist anything you say to make you look like a villain in their privileged story. Especially if you are marginalized, just be careful. The idea of a rotating community PogChamp was an amazing idea, and when I was asked, I hopped on immediately because I knew what it could mean. I expected racism. I didn't expect the chaos that followed. But know that your day will be hard, and you are a PogChamp for a reason.
That's true.
So follow this space, but seriously, if you use Twitch, like, report people who say racist shit if you see them, and pressure Twitch to take more aggressive action in these instances. They have the power to do it. We know they do. Every day that they don't, they're choosing not to.
Think of it sort of like, like we said, the noise of Twitch chat is like the crowd at the stadium, right? So when it's safe to go to stadiums again, right, you got to think of it the same way. If some racist guy is yelling in the next section over, right, racial slurs at the not white player on one of the teams,
yep,
you got to text the security at the stadium so they come and kick that guy's ass out.
Yep, they'll show up. They'll do it. Twitch needs to do the same, and you need to lean on Twitch to do this kind of thing.
Right, but they, the security is watching with their cameras, but they can't hear everyone at the stadium. It's too much. It's right? You got to help out a little bit, even if there's mods in there. They can't see. There's a flood, right?
So, in some other news, there's going to be a new Indiana Jones game. Like, Bethesda announced this. We don't know anything. Mm-hmm. Like, we know almost nothing about it, except it's going to be a completely original title.
Yeah, so Indiana Jones games have a long history in the tabletop RPG and the point-and-click adventure space. And then there's semi-Indiana Jones games like Pitfall, that's Indiana Jones. Come on, right?
Yep.
Nobody's...
There's that arcade game that is not actually good. Do not try to pretend otherwise.
Super Pitfall is not Indiana Jones. Only regular Pitfall is.
Well, Super Pitfall is a travesty.
Yeah, and then you've got ones like Spelunky, which are a little bit Indiana Jones, right? Anyway, these games have, it's not like other intellectual properties where the games are sort of all hit or all miss. It's a really mixed bag of all sorts of different stuff, right? Ranging from like LucasArts stuff to...
I mean, Star Wars games are the same way. Like, take all the Star Wars games that have been made, and they are all over the place.
There's a lot more Star Wars games than Indiana Jones games.
There are.
There's also the Diana Jones Award, right? Which is infamous. But anyway, so this new game... we know, made by Bethesda, is coming from the people who have made the recent, quite good Wolfenstein games. And what does that have in common with Indiana Jones games? They're Nazi-killing games.
Yep.
These are the Nazi-killing video game experts.
But also the fact that it's not just, the Nazis are killed in these games and the Nazis are the enemy. Their social media and the statements they make in public about their games are very clear about whether or not they are pro or anti-Nazi.
I just feel really interesting that it's like, all right, we need someone to make an Indiana Jones game. Let's pick the people who make the shoot Nazi game.
I mean, the best Indiana Jones
is, right?
Indiana Jones, the best part about Indiana Jones is that he's fighting Nazis.
Right. It's like they could have picked, any other game studio they wanted.
Those two movies are fantastic.
All two of them.
All 2.1.
Yeah.
There's like one scene in the second one that's okay. But so the other thing that's interesting about this, but I don't think younger people will even notice, because younger people, like LucasArts doesn't mean anything to young people. No. I don't think. But LucasArts meant a lot to me.
Oh, yeah.
They're not releasing this under like the LucasArts label. The title is being made under something called LucasFilm Games, which was announced yesterday.
So what they've done is they've sort of revived, thanks to, who owns what these days, Disney owning everything, basically. They have decided to revive. They haven't made a new studio. LucasArts was a studio.
Yeah.
Right? That made a lot of stuff.
A very important studio. Like, go watch. Someone's got to have made a documentary on it. Just go watch that.
Yeah. They made a lot of legendary softwares and other artistic works. But they were dissolved at some point. I remember when they were dissolved, it was a big deal in the news. Everyone was like, no, why? No. So they're reviving this brand, and they're applying this brand to, I assume, video games that are with Lucas-ish properties, right?
Yeah,
so
it's mostly just Lucasfilm Games sounds a lot like AOL Time Warner.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of movies you go see, and they always say, Lucasfilm Limited at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
Basically, if we see from now on, if you see any Lucasfilm intellectual property appear in a video game, you're probably going to see, Lucasfilm Games at the start of the game as one of the brands that appears. There's no studio behind it. It's just they own the intellectual property, and they want to slap that label on there. If someone comes out with like, I don't know, fucking Willow's Lucasfilm, right? Like they make a Willow game.
Oh man, the NES game Willow was underrated. It's not good, but it was underrated.
If they make another Willow game, it'll say Lucasfilm.
Willow.
Oh yeah, that was right. Lucasfilm Limited. Willow.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm right. Okay.
So even if like this game might not, depending on what this game actually is, it might not be our jam. Like we don't like every game, but
American Graffiti the game is what you say, Lucas.
I am excited about this, like what will come out of these efforts.
We'll see.
So in other news about news that made the news again, everyone's talking about Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, so I mean, this was announced quite a while ago, but basically, if you haven't realized, Nintendo knows nobody bought a fucking Wii U.
Yep.
No, right? And Nintendo, in terms of re-releasing their old games, has always been. I guess they've always done it, but they've done it slower than some people would like and faster than some people need, right? So someone like me, I'm always like, why do they keep re-releasing this shit? I own all these games. I don't need the fucking Mario Galaxy. I have Mario Galaxy on my Wii, right?
Yep.
And so does a lot of people because we sold a bunch. So they didn't bother re-releasing Mario Galaxy on the Wii U because everyone had a Wii. It was too soon, right? But when it gets to 2, 3, 4 consoles out, it's like, okay, the children today have never played Ocarina of Time.
I mean, the Wii was a long time ago.
The N64 was a long time ago. Let us re-release Ocarina of Time for the new children, right?
I mean, I'm reminded of an anecdote.
Yeah. We got a situation where even though the Wii U was only the previous console, nobody fucking bought one. So all the Nintendo exclusive first-party games that were on the Wii U getting Switch re-releases. And Bowser's Fury / Mario 3D World Land, whatever. It was announced a while ago, but the trailer hit today, and I guess people were having fun with it.
Yep. So the trailer is what caused that discussion. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to this. I'll play it because...
I was planning to buy it and play it because obviously I didn't play the originals.
Yeah, I never had a Wii U. You know what? I don't think I've ever seen a Wii U in person.
I have seen a Wii U in person, and I touched a Wii U one time.
Oh, I think I saw one at like a PAX. I've never touched one, though. Not once in my entire life.
Basically, a big Switch that's not good.
Yeah, the Switch... I feel like the Switch was still, like, such a groundbreaking piece of hardware that the best you can say about the Wii U is that it was the prototype for the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
What do I have? So, we love... while we don't necessarily love the Soviet Union itself as much as we might love democratic socialism, there was no democratic parts of the Soviet Union.
That is true.
Was just the communism with anyway. But we do love the artworks of the Soviet Union, right? And at least the while if not the message, the aesthetic of their propaganda, architecture, etc. Because it just looks cool, right? It just looks cool. And on GeekNights, we have featured many times the bus stops of the Soviet Union.
That was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Posters of the Soviet, all sorts of different Soviet artworks. But of course, video games of the Soviet Union we featured for sure, right? So here we have animation of the Soviet Union, obvious. But this is an amazing Twitter account that has come and made, occasionally I would see a Soviet animation here or there, and it might get thing of the day or not. In this case, we have a Twitter account, Soviet animation out of context, that is basically taking clips with subtitles when necessary of many, many, many wide variety of Soviet animation and putting those clips on Twitter frequently. Like I'm just getting like more than one a day. It's like there's a lot to see. I don't know where they're getting it all from. Someone must speak Russian because they're subtitling all of it. But yeah, this is like the only source you need for Soviet animation in the English-speaking world, unless you want to watch one of these things in full, which I don't think is necessary because I'm here for the aesthetic, and none of these things look like they're something I want to watch.
I don't know. I want to see what's up with this one of the Polyphemus, because it has some Kyklos energy.
I think it all has Kyklos energy.
Yeah. Cat Concert from 1986.
If you appreciate animation and Soviet aesthetic, this is the Twitter account for you to follow, and is my thing of the day.
All right. So we've been playing, as if you listen to Geek Nights Tuesdays, a lot of train games lately, 18xx games. We have like between 1 and 3 going at any given time on 18xxgames.net. It's weird that as of right now, I have 0 active train games. A long 1817 just ended. I didn't win, of course. Scott was in last place. I was not far ahead of him.
Well, I got blocked on the first OR.
Yeah, whose fault was that?
My fault. I didn't see what was coming.
I was doing fine until evil forces conspired to short my companies into oblivion at the end of the game. But the thing about 18xx games is that while they have a lot of proper nouns around trains from those eras, and often one or two like financial components that arguably reflect like the kinds of things that happened in stock markets in those eras. They don't really map that well to like the real history of trains in the world. Like they're not that accurate if you zoom in to any degree, except on very specific parts of these games. So what I just watched recently is a whole bunch of documentaries on the train companies that we keep seeing in these games. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to... So there are two videos we can look at that I was just trying to decide for my thing of the day. One is the New York Central, the NYC, the history of that railway. The other one is a video that's just called The Pennsylvania Railroad. Why? Because the PRR was a like case study in failure. So my thing of the day are these two documentaries. So if you ever played an 18XX game and you wanted to know the story of that token that you picked when you IPO'd your company because that was the coolest looking one, you're about to learn a lot of really boring stuff about trains. And it's just free on YouTube. I don't know if that's legal or not, but who cares? I don't think there's a big market for the... there's not like this big black piracy market for train documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
In the meta moment, we're still stuck at home. I can't go anywhere. I don't have anything like new. I haven't started continuing to read The Tale of Hanzo yet.
No, I got a P-Cross game came out and no one told me about it, but I found it and now I'm playing P-Cross.
Oh, that's trouble.
So that's, yeah.
Someone in the stream was saying, we should get an 18XX. Okay, we'll get an 18XX game with some listener. We'll make that happen.
I will teach anyone how to play 18XX. You just got to come to the GeekNights Discord, and I will teach you to play the train game, and we can play it together.
Yeah, maybe like tomorrow. Like we'll post in the Discord.
Come to the GeekNights Discord whenever. There's a board game channel in there, and you can talk to people and learn how to train.
Yeah. Otherwise, Virtual MagFest appears to have been canceled. So I guess we won't be a part of that. And we don't have any online cons lined up for a while yet now.
We'll see which online cons actually happen and which ones don't and which ones are safe to go to and which ones aren't.
Yep, and we'll see if and when there is a convention in 2021 that is safe to go to in person. Don't think the odds are great.
Be late. If it's at all, it will be late in 2021.
Yep, I don't think the odds are great in America right now for that, but we'll see. Otherwise, like, yeah, we're just stuck at home. Like, nothing new happens. That's why it's so hard to find opening bits. Like, I woke up today and my computer fan was making a little bit more noise than usual. Like, that's the most exciting thing that happens to me.
Ooh, exciting.
It actually is making a little bit of noise, and I don't want to have to deal with it. I might just buy a new fan. The problem is I got to open the case up to figure out... It's like this enclosure with a bunch of fans in it. I'll have to, like, open it and, like, stop them all one by one to figure out which one's making the noise.
But yeah, just, follow us on all of the internet places because we are not shitty. We are not banned from them. So you can follow us on all those places. And as we slowly make content that we have not promised to make in any way, shape, or form, but
we've only hinted.
Yeah, stuff that, working on it. It'll be done whenever we feel like working on it. If I get off my lazy ass, who knows? You'll see it. If you're not following us, you're going to miss it. So.
Yep. It's funny. I realized something during the course of this whole quarantine. The thing that lights a fire under us to get a bunch of stuff done in a hurry is always weirdly conventions. But it's not just we get panels done. Like I noticed this pattern, like looking at old GeekNights stuff. When there's a convention deadline, we'll like have to make a panel because we run out of time. We're gonna be at a con and like PAX expects us to present the thing we said we'd present. But
that's a real deadline.
Yeah, but whenever we have a real deadline, I think I saw this pattern. We tend to make a bunch of other stuff that is not related to that deadline around the time of that deadline.
Like what?
I'll make more YouTube videos that are not the PAX panel I'm trying to put together, like in the month before that PAX panel has to be ready.
Well, I don't do that.
Maybe it's just me.
Maybe
it's like
just you.
Once the seal is broken of like, I gotta make something, then a bunch of other things just get made. Like it just happens.
Oh, I mean, I definitely do when there is a real legitimate deadline. Like, yeah, there's a reason the thing has to be done at that time.
It can't be a fake deadline though. It can't be like if I say like we gotta finish this thing by the end of January. Like that, neither one of us is gonna do that.
If there's a real deadline, I get it done by the date that needs to get done. But otherwise, I get it done whenever I feel like it, or never.
No. What we could do is we could put $10,000 in escrow, and it will, like in Bitcoin, and it'll be destroyed on a date if we don't upload a YouTube video of a particular length. Give ourselves a hard deadline. One way to do that would be to announce something.
Or we could shit talk and make that as a service for other people.
And
use it to get us to make itself.
You know what we just call it? Deadline, but dead is in caps. Deadline.tv.
We are hired assassins. It's legal to hire them to kill yourself. You've hired an assassin to kill you unless you get this thing done on a certain day.
It's the Golgo 13 of Do Your Stream.
Yeah. You can't hire it to kill anyone else, and you can't do it to get assisted suicide either.
That is also the plot of Bullworth. Sort of.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Kind of.
Yeah. I was thinking about watching that movie again, Todd, thinking back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the show, because I
definitely did not understand even half of what I understand about the world now when I saw that movie.
Yeah, like that movie was not perfect, but much like Strange Days and RoboCop, I feel like those three movies, Bullworth, Strange Days, and RoboCop, were way ahead of their time and are like deeply prescient to the literal reality of the year 2020 and 2021.
Well, because it was also the literal reality of the years in which they were made. You just didn't realize that.
Yep. All right. So Nerts. Nerts is a game that I didn't really notice. I just didn't think about it. And then Scott one day was like, hey, let's play Nerts. And I was like, okay, whatever.
It was only like a day or two after it came out.
I didn't even know when it came out. You just said, hey, we should play it January.
It came out very, very recently.
Okay, it came out January 5th. So the Zachtronics game came out January 5th. By like January 7th, we were playing it.
Exactly. So basically, here's what happened. So Zachtronics, if you don't know, they're the ones who make all the cool programming games, as well as some others. For example, the Space Chem, the Codex of Chemical Engineering, TIS 100, Shenzhen IO. Right? They've also made the new one. What's it called? Mobius Front 80 something, 86.
Yep,
right?
that's the one I gotta play. It's like near the top of my queue. Hades kind of knocked it down because Hades has like captured me first, but
sure. But yeah, they make a lot of games in that sort of same vein of, programming, strategy, single player-ish PC games. Mobius Front 83, that's the year. And apparently what happened was when they were at their office working, during lunch, they would play this card game called Nerts. Nerts is not a game that I knew, but apparently
it's in the bicycle book. It's in the bicycle book. It's like one of those old card games. Yeah,
it is. It's an old card game that like everyone knew, that existed for quite a while. I just didn't personally know about it. And I think part of the reason why I never encountered it is because unlike other card games, you actually need an entire 52 card deck per player. And that would make it rare to be able to play Nerds. You would have to have someone intentionally buy a shit ton of decks and know the game.
Now, weirdly, I knew about it because people in my family played it, but I've never liked Solitaire, like at all. Like I never played Microsoft Solitaire.
Solitaire you're talking about, right?
I don't like any card solitaires of any kind.
Oh, okay. Because I
never have.
How about like the Mahjong tile solitaires?
Not at all. I hate Mahjong tile.
Right. Well, I think I get it's a minor. It's not a huge pet peeve like Lectern and Podium, but people say Solitaire and they mean Klondike Solitaire when really like Free Cell is also Solitaire, right? Pyramid.
Solitaire is just a class of single player card games.
Solitaire just means single player game. That's all it means, right? Anyway, but yeah, Klondike Solitaire, right? I guess Microsoft Solitaire. Rim's not a fan. I mean, I'm not like a huge.
I don't think it's bad. It's just I had better things to do, like Microsoft Hearts.
I think everyone has better things to do than to play Klondike Solitaire.
I feel like Klondike Solitaire on Windows machines got the most play in the era when most people did not have access to the internet without dialing up somewhere.
Pretty much, yeah. It's still on. It should still be on your computer if you have a Windows computer. Anyway,
isn't it in like the Microsoft App Store now or something? Like it's not there, but
you can even get it.
Oh, there it is.
Microsoft's...
It's there.
You can even get Microsoft Solitaire on like your iPhone. Microsoft Solitaire app.
It makes a lot of noise if you start it.
Yeah. Anyway, so what is Nerts? Nerts is everybody, or up to 6 people in the case of this game, but I guess there's no reason it couldn't be even more people, all playing Klondike Solitaire simultaneously. So you have your deck, and you have 4 free piles, right? That all start with a card on 1 card each. And those are like your free work piles that, you can stack things vertically, with the alternating colors, just like you do in Klondike. And you have this Nerts pile, which is a set of face down cards from your deck, and one of them is face up. And the only thing you can do with the Nerts pile is take the top card, the face up card of the Nerts pile, and put it in a legal spot, and then reveal the next card of the Nerts pile. And of course, your regular deck, you can draw 3 and then work with the top card of the 3 you drew, and then draw 3, work with the top card, and eventually shuffle, right? That's just like Klondike. So you're playing this, Klondike Solitaire-ish game, and the difference is that the piles in which you sort of score out to, where you start with, you find an ace, you can put it out in those piles and then start scoring to them. Those piles are shared among all players. So you throw out your ace of spade, you might have your 2 of spade getting ready to go. Someone else comes in with their 2 of spade and puts it on your ace of spade, and now you got to hold your 2 of spade until another ace of spade shows up. Now, everyone has all 4 aces in their 52-card deck, so it's guaranteed that eventually, right, you're going to be able to play out. Right? But who's going to play out first is the question.
Now, the brilliance of this game is that, one, it's free. Like, you can just play like this. You don't have to pay anything.
They couldn't charge any money for this game, so they don't.
Yeah, I feel like if they wanted to, they could have charged like $1, 50 cents.
Maybe.
You know what if I were them, the only thing I would do is I would sell cosmetics.
I mean, if you have other Zachtronics games, that unlocks different cards.
That is true. I saw like you, I think you or Chris had the Shenzhen deck.
I had the TIS 100 one.
Yeah, I don't know any other Zachtronic games because they're not my jam. Like, they're good games, but that's not the kind of game I like.
Mm-hmm.
But the magic of this game, like the reason we're saying you should play it, is that it's really easy to teach and just like dive in. Like, it's a good game to play when you're having that conversation with your friends of what game should we play.
Mm-hmm. In the top right corner of the screen, after you open the game, is a question mark. You click on that question mark, it brings up a screen with the instructions. It's literally like 5 sentences, and that's all you need to know how to play.
Yep.
2 instructions.
It's actually surprisingly intense. Like, you got to move quick. You've got to like be on point. This game is fast.
Who you're playing against.
Yeah, if you're playing against Scott, you got to be on point. Like, I will get nerds when I am surprised at how quickly that happened. But
just only empty the Nerts pile. Don't do anything else.
Yeah, sometimes every now and then my Nerts pile is just like 3 face cards in a row.
That happens.
Yeah, it does happen. There's luck in this, like there's luck in all solitaire card games. But the real magic of this game, like what I love about it, is that it's got a ton of style coupled with you can see everyone else's mouse in real time.
So that is a genius game choice there, right? Where anyone's mouse cursor is on the screen, you can see it. So when the game starts, it plays this quite long fanfare. Right? Yeah, this fanfare that is announcing the game is about to start. And during this time, you can move your mouse around, and everyone, you can sort of gesture emotionally with their mouse arrow, right?
Now, I didn't know this. No one said anything. So when I was playing with Scott and a bunch of our friends, on my laptop, it's just muted by default. Like, games are muted just because, And I didn't know it was playing music. So I just thought for the first couple games that the game was just really slow to load for some reason. And then Scott started singing, and I was like, what's wrong with you? What's going on?
You need the sound on if in this game, if you can.
All aces, no spaces.
While you're playing, you see the mouse, you can see where people are thinking about, right? If someone's mouse is like people tend to subconsciously move their mouse with their eyes, right? So if you see a mouse arrow like going across the middle, right, you can sort of tell that person's looking right over there. Maybe they got something, maybe you should, if they're hovering over this 3 of heart, maybe, then their arrow disappears. Grab your 5 of heart because they're about to drop a 4 on it. You can put a 5 down.
Yep. Right? The best moments are when you see someone will lay down like a 4 of hearts, and 2 or 3 people simultaneously, as fast as possible, try to get that next heart over there.
Right. Well, I think this is also necessary. If you play this game in person, you're going to have a lot of that experience where you're physically picking up a card and trying to lay it down in a pile, and someone's hand gets there faster, and you're like, you jerk, right? So they either had to sort of awkwardly put hands into the game, which is, I think, not a good idea. They just let everyone see everyone's mouse cursor. It works wonderfully.
Yep. It's such a small thing, but it adds so much emotional value to like the play of the game. Like, you know who got in your way. Like, you feel it viscerally the way you would in person.
Yeah, everyone's mouse arrow it matches their color, so you can tell who it was.
And you can do things like, I have moved my mouse and hovered over a card I want someone else to play while yelling at them to play the 2 of diamonds, Jesus, so I can play my 3 and 4.
Yep. Something else in this game that I think is a negative is that you really do need to play it with a traditional computer mouse, and you need to have an able arm.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'm not good at this game. Like, don't think that I'm making an excuse. I am dog shit at this game. But the first several times we played, I was even worse because I was trying to use a laptop trackpad. You cannot play this game with a laptop trackpad. You cannot
use anything other than a computer mouse. Maybe some other device could do it, but it's
trackball might work, but like trackpad, fart noise.
Yeah. You really need a computer mouse equivalent device, and you need to be able to go fast with it and precise with it, or you're going to get hosed in this game. It is not very accessible.
You also need
in that way
a large enough monitor to see the difference between spades and clubs. If your monitor is tiny, you will probably not be able to see that effectively.
I guess that's also true.
Like an older laptop would have trouble with this.
Right. If you have there are no subtitles, and there is a small amount of the language, right? So like when someone plays an ace to the middle, the game will say this out loud, the suit
hearts,
that ace,
hearts,
yeah, like hearts. So like, and that is extremely useful and important information, because even if you don't have a heart to go out there right now, it's not reminding you can play your hearts now, your 2 of hearts that's been waiting. You know that other people are now playing hearts, and you can think, when's the last? You can feel. I haven't heard hearts in a while, right? Like, there isn't a new ace of,
Yep. Because then you think, all right, either hearts are backed up.
You draw a 6 of hearts, and you're like, when did I last hear hearts? You can process that very quickly to decide whether to drag that 6 of hearts out, because what are the odds there's it's good to go now.
So originally, when we were playing this game, the one other drawback, it's not really a drawback because this game is like, there's a lot of luck involved in solitaire card games, but there is luck involved. Like, obviously, skill will prevail in the long run.
If your Nerts pile is all kings and queens, you're going to have a bad time.
Yep. Your draw pile might just not have anything that can go into your buffer. Like, it just might not be able to.
Where I'll be sitting there just drawing through my deck repeatedly, and I can't do any move whatsoever, and I have to wait for someone else to do something.
Yep. It seems to have a fallback where if that happens for too long, it'll like reshuffle everyone's decks around.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't say exactly what the rules about shuffling are. It just sort of happens sometimes. And I think it basically, my guess is that it does it when it can tell the game is in a state where no one can do anything. Then it will.
So, did you ever
play with a lot of players? It usually doesn't shuffle ever.
So, Scott, did you ever think to just read the changelog? Because there's an update from January 10th that explains all of this.
What does it say?
So on January 10th, they updated the game. I'm just going to read these because these will give you a sense of these are all excellent game design changes. 1, increase the number of per player tableau stacks to 6 in 1 to 2 player games and 5 in 3 player games.
Oh.
That reduces the amount of luck, because when there's a small number of players, luck matters more. When there's a large number of players, there's more churn, and you're more likely to be able to play effectively. Like, even if you get behind.
You're also playing over several rounds. You're playing to 100 points.
Yep.
So that also eliminates luck, because a good player will just score more points over several rounds and get to 100.
Oh, yeah, and what they said,
even if they might lose a round here or there.
Exactly. The reason they made the change, quote, this changes the strategy a little, but it makes the speed of gameplay consistent regardless of the number of players.
Oh, very.
Because you can get more cards out of your Nerts and not just be blocked on, like, the King of Hearts that's sitting there. 2, they changed the rules so that when players get stuck, we end the round instead of shuffling decks for a 3rd time. So,
but what causes the first 2 shuffles?
It looks like if all players have shuffled through their deck 3 times,
Okay.
Something like that. I suspect certain people we were playing with don't go through their deck that quick. We could experiment.
Yeah, so the controls, because it is a speed game, so it's important to get the controls exactly right. So the first time I played, I got blitzed because what I was doing was my natural inclination of click on a card, drag it, and let go. That is too slow. You will not win that way. Don't do that.
I was twice as good when Scott pointed that out.
What you do in this game, it's not obvious, is click on a card to pick it up. So click, and now you have the card. You don't need to hold the mouse button down. You have the card, and then click a second time to drop the card. If you want to send the card back to where it came, so like let's say you grab a 5 of heart, you dragging it out to you're going out to the middle to put it onto the 4 of heart. You're gonna click again, and somebody else drops theirs first. They beat you in the speed game. Right click, and that will teleport that 5 of hearts back to where it came from, rather than having to like go and aim the mouse at its original location and regular click again or whatever.
Yep.
Right? And the third thing you need to know about controls is that if you press the tab key on your keyboard, right, the one above the caps lock, you will it will draw from your regular deck. So you don't have to ever click on your regular deck. You can keep your mouse out in the play zone. Right?
Like hovering over that king of hearts that you're like just waiting for someone to play a jack so you can throw this out when the queen comes.
Right. So there have been situations where, for example, I've got a 5 of heart. I see someone else rim drops his 4 of heart in the middle on the 3 that I was waiting for because I don't know where my 4 of hearts is. It's hiding somewhere in the Nerts pile probably. So I'm dragging my 5 out there to put it down. But I remember that I saw the 6 in my deck. So while I'm dragging the 5 out to the middle, I'm hitting that tab key like rapid fire. And at the corner of my eye, I'm looking for that 6 to show up. So that as soon as I see drop that 5 down, I can come and grab the 6 and put it out there, even though the 6 wasn't face up at the time. I've got it like reserved in that deck somewhere, right? I can go right back to it. Unless I modulus math my way away from it and I can't get it to show up right now.
Yeah.
But got to try anyway, you know. And usually it works.
So yeah, this game is like a case study in minimalist reimagining of an existing traditional game. Like that's what I would
to replace the experience they had playing the same game at lunch to play with themselves, and they released it to the world. The only negative things I can say about this game, besides a lack of accessibility, is that it's a multiplayer only game, effectively speaking. If you're going to play single player, just play Microsoft Solitaire. There's no reason.
Yeah.
Come on. Or Free Cell or something. The only way to play multiplayer is to play with Steam friends. It works perfectly, but you can only be people you're friends with on Steam. So you open the game, one of your Steam friends opens the game and just joins your game, or you join their game or whatever. That's the only way. You can't play with random internet strangers. You can't play with people on not Steam. It's Steam only as far as I'm aware. So you have to be friends with people on Steam and get online with them at the same time. And that is, I think, going to be difficult for a lot of people. They won't be able to get the nerd experience. You're going to need to be part of like some gaming community, like, I don't know, a GeekNights Discord or something. Say, who wants to Nerts? Get people who, it's free, but you have to have Steam and a computer with a mouse and a tab key on a keyboard. You got to have to get people to be friends together on Steam and get them to open Nerts at the same time. So I think that's a high bar for a lot of people, right? That's going to keep them from playing this, even at $0 free.
Yep. Of course, the alternative is online play with randos, which I don't know if that would ever be fun.
Well, I'm just saying they don't have it, though. Right? Whether it's fun or not, they don't have it. Right?
Yep.
There's only one way. So that's that.
Yeah, totally worth playing, though.
In-game communication that I'm aware of, so you sort of have to set up a voice chat on the side to get the full fun experience.
Yep, because the primary, one of my relatives said, this is a common saying in Michigan, phrased slightly differently, but it comes down to people play card games so they have an excuse to complain about their hand. This game is just that. Like when we play it, it's just everyone in the table just alternately going, ugh, come on. No one's got a 2 of diamonds. Not one of you fuckers has a 2 of diamonds. No. Scott, you have one right there. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to play it.
You can definitely see so strategy tips, right? Other than the speed tip of click to pick up, click to put down, jam your tab key a lot, is you have to maintain a sort of some memory of what was in your deck. the last time you shuffled through, so that you know what's, so that like, you know, if it's time to
like, oh,
play,
I got a bunch of middling hearts, I got some face
Right.
like diamonds and clubs. Okay.
Right. And also there's like wide vision of like, because it's the board, you know, is so wide. You have to be able to see, you know, the not necessarily, you don't really have to pay attention to other people's play areas that much, but the middle area and yours, you have to like keep all those cards in your vision and in your mind at once to see all the possible places a thing can go. And then of course the scoring is every time you put a card in the middle area, you get a point. And when someone calls Nerts, any cards in your Nerts pile that are left would be -2 points.
Yep.
So just all I do is I'll just pull things out. If I can take the Nerts card and put it somewhere, I do it.
You don't have to get it into the middle.
What.
Just get it into your into your tableau and you're done. It's gone. You don't need to worry about
really it. Even if it seems like it's a really bad card to put into my tableau, like let's say I'm sitting there and I've got an empty hole in my tableau. Like any card could go there. Well, obviously you'd want to put a king there, right?
But what if there's like a 6 of hearts that's been blocking your Nerts pile?
I'll put a 2 of hearts in that empty spot because even though it might be stuck there for a while and taking up a whole spot, and a king would be the best to go there and not 2 like the worst, an ace of hearts is likely to show up.
Yep, or more importantly, now
that long.
you are twice as likely to get rid of a Nert because either you'll be able to play that 2, thus allowing the next Nert to go into that slot, or the Nert you couldn't see before that's visible could now be played.
Exactly. That next Nert being visible is like, well, now you've got another card you can see and move around and get rid of.
Like, do whatever you can to see the next Nert, even if it isn't good solitaire play.
Yep. I do that constantly. It's very rare. The only time I won't do that is like if I see a move where like I can rearrange some cards and put the Nert card like under them or something like that. But other than that, yeah, always take the Nert card.
Yep. And the last piece of advice is, honestly, you really have to concentrate and give this game your complete attention. Like, I know all the same strategies Scott knows. I'm just slower. Like, that's it. I'm just slower at it.
Yep. I do kind of want to, whenever it's safe to do so, get a whole bunch of decks of cards and play in-person Nerts.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. You know, it'll be a little bit more accessible, but a little bit less in some ways, right?
The trickiest part is if two people try to throw a card down at the same time, it'll have to be whoever's card is laying flat.
I think the trickiest part actually is that the in-person people could make mistakes, right?
Oh, people will make a ton of mistakes.
Possibly.
We see that with Spotted. We see that with like every game that involves real-time cards.
Right. And in a fast game, you don't have time to check people for mistakes. You know, it'll just be found out at the end or never. And the video game version, that obviously can't happen. It won't let you make an illegal move or an illegal card lay.
4 people all try to lay the same card on the same spot. Someone had better frame timing and gets it. Like, that's it.
Yep. As opposed to we hurt our hands or
jungle speed
or who knows what.
I don't think you could play this with 6 people reasonably in person. I'd like to try
it in person at their office. That's the only reason they during lunchtime.
I guess
the only reason that they made this to replace that.
So my guess is that the reason they could is that they'd been playing it for so long and so intensely that they're like the pros. Like, I think our group of friends could play this in person with a little bit of practice. I just don't think most people could.
Maybe.
I think that would be a difficult ask of many groups of gamers. But yeah, this game's totally worth playing if you can find some people to play it with.
Yep. $0.
I think that's enough of a show.
Found a way to say a whole lot about a not much.